Hello, everybody. Welcome to podcast number one of many, many more to come. We are here in Johannesburg at Perfect Laser Solutions, the business of Warwick Smith Chandler, who's on the ODC with myself. And I'm here today with Zukile Dube, Jack Whitaker, and Ayanda Bonoyi. And we are a bunch of young ODs who have recently gotten involved in the ODU Union, along with a lot of other young ODs. And we hopefully want to explain the ODU from a youth perspective and what we think we can do to help improve the union and make it more worthwhile for young ODs, but really all ODs. You know, we want a union that has tangible benefits and that is easily accessible and transparent and something that is worthwhile. So as I said, my name's Nik Augoustatos. I matriculated in 2023 alongside Jack and Ayanda. In Kid House, I was at Bishop's for 13 years, all my life, but now have been out for a few years, and we think that we can do a good job in the OD Union, making it worthwhile for young ODs. So I decided to run for the ODC and was elected and have been in the position since early March of this year, 2025. And we have an exciting new initiative that we're going to discuss today. And we hope you enjoy. Over to you, Zukile.
So thank you very much for the introduction there. So my name is Zukile Dube. I was in Founders House, matriculated in 2013. Came to Bishop's in grade 2, so unfortunately didn't quite manage to grab that 13-year tie.
2 years old.
Yeah, I blame my mom for that actually, but it's another story for another day. So from leaving Bishop's, had gone to UCT, as many do. Did business science there, finance, and after doing that, left to come to the wonderful city of Johannesburg, the big smoke as they call it. So moved up here in 2019. I've been here pretty much since. So it was a bit rocky, came here just before COVID, but have sort of settled. I'm working in investment banking at Vunani Limited, which is a listed small cap financial services group. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yeah, how's it guys? My name's Jack Whitaker. As Nik said, alongside Ayanda, we matriculated in 2023, a great year, in our opinion. Also managed to grab the 13-year tie, which we joke is probably one of the most expensive ties in the world because you have to pay school fees for 13 years. But yeah,
That's
really,
the only criteria.
yeah, really enjoyed Bishop's life. Fortunately lived quite close by. Also in Kid House. Love the sports, love the academics, and now I'm also alongside Nik at Stellenbosch University, and that's kind of the link where he wanted to get me involved in the communications subcommittee, but we will talk about that going forward.
Yeah, how's it guys? My name's Ayanda Bonoyi. I'm sort of the middle ground between everyone. Matriculated, as Nik said, in 2023. Was in Founders House, like Zukile, the best house. Everyone likes to find.
Controversial.
Definitely.
Spent 5 years at Bishop's. That was my whole high schooling career. Played some rugby. Played first team rugby actually at Bishop's. Played first team basketball. And yeah, my time at Bishop's, some of the best years of my life. I could never take that away for anything. I'm now currently situated in Joburg, second year student at Wits, playing rugby, still kind of finding my feet in life, but yeah, kind of enjoying everything, taking everything as it goes. I've just been brought on amazingly by Nik onto the ODC. And very excited to take on this new opportunity in life. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think that's sort of the beauty of the OD Union when I speak to people and sort of say, what's it all about? And obviously there's benefits and there's opportunities, but the beauty of the ODU Union is that, Warwick's upstairs here, and Warwick sort of, matriculated in the 70s. Warwick has been an OD. I think he said this is his 50th year as an OD, and I don't think I've been an OD for 50 months. And the thing is that, as ODs, we have different experiences. Everyone has a different life, different cities. Some of us leave Cape Town immediately. Others of us stay our whole lives. Young, old, whatever you're doing. The amazing thing is that we've all sat on the Piley Reese and watched rugby. We've all walked those corridors. We've all walked into chapel at 7:45 in the morning. 4 days a week. Tuesdays are house meetings, and that shared perspective and at a time in your life where it really does shape you. It's very special that there's this group of literally thousands of ODs across the globe, thousands of men that have had very similar experiences at a time in their life. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why, it's worth, really taking this to a level that it deserves to be at, right? So I think I'll sort of explain quickly what the Youth Cabinet is.
Well, just to jump in there, Nick, I think for me, a big part of like why I'm interested in the ODU Union, and I think for us younger guys in university, it's so interesting to like find out what slightly older guys are doing and how, like, when they left university. So we were just chatting before Zukile. I mean, I'm very interested to hear how you kind of like went on, finished university, decided to come to Joburg and like got the job that you're in now. And I'm sure other younger ODs at university would be interested to hear that.
No, definitely, Jack. I think, for me, it was, I'd done a sort of an internship at Funani prior, so when I was at university, and that sort of led to...
Was that in Cape Town?
So they've got a branch in Cape Town, so I went and did a little stint there at the asset management branch in Claremont, and then through sort of the relationships I built there, when I left, that was sort of the first point of call, and I've actually been there since. But I think, it's a lot of guys I know sort of my age were, when they were leaving university, were sort of struggling to find their feet. And I think sort of to what Nick was saying in terms of us all having sat at the Piley Reese before, you want to be able to speak to somebody 3 or 4, 5 or 6, 10 years maybe, a little bit older than you, that has walked the same road as you and that is now in a position that you look to be. And I think that for me is really, really exciting, because that's not an opportunity guys my age sort of had, and I think to be able to put the things in place that will allow that next generation to have that, I think is so important.
Yeah. And investment banking, how's that?
I enjoy it, It's the hustle and bustle. I think for me, Joburg, in terms of South Africa, is the place to be for that. Obviously, you tend to be where a lot of the clients are, the big banks are, the JSE is here. So that's why I left the beautiful mountains and the ocean in Cape Town. But I've enjoyed it. I mean, since being here, there were actually initially quite a lot of guys from Bishops that had come up here. Some have decided to migrate all the way to the UK, which is somewhat unfortunate, but
depends. Still a strong Joburg branch, though.
No, 100%. And I think, so it was Jordan Flax that had brought me on. He was a 2014 White House. But just, since having come in and being more involved again, seeing the number of ODs that are actually in Joburg. I'm sure Ayanda, being on the branch, is going to speak a lot about it later, but it's incredible to see that there is that many ODs. I mean, I'm in a WhatsApp group with guys my year, and none of us were part of the Joburg branch, but yet we all live in Joburg. There's about 15 of us, So I'm sure there's so many years where there are little pockets of ODs that have sort of stuck together, but didn't know that, you know, there was a wider group. And yeah, it'll be interesting to sort of see how we can shape that and reconnect ODs that are looking to be
100%.
reconnected.
Yeah, and I would also say, I mean, you mentioned that, you know, you want to do things that future generations will sort of benefit from. I mean, I remember I had a teacher in grade 7 at prep, and I remember this quote vividly. He said, "Society grows great when old men plant trees, the shade of which they'll never sit under." So, you know, in other words, and that's always been, I think, the bishop's sort of mantra, in that, like, you know, you don't just do things for the now or for yourself. You know, you think, I'm doing this now, there might be nothing here, but if you build something, it'll be of great value to future generations. And I think that's frankly how an institution like Bishop's, you know, comes about. You know, it wasn't just there in 1849. You know, it's people that along the way have built and built and built. And I think, you know, I suppose this could be in a small measure our way of contributing to that. You know, and we think that with this youth initiative that we spearheading, something really great could come from it. So yeah, I mean, before we delve into that, I mean, yeah, I want to speak a bit on branches, because Ayanda's on branches, and just to sort of say that, you know, it's a vital part of the OD framework, and you know, it's sort of lacked a little bit of making sure that ODs remain in a branch wherever they are, so that we keep them involved and engaged in the institution. I mean, you can speak a bit on that.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but we've also got another OD success story of a Young Guns Varsity Cup winner sitting to my left.
We didn't mention it.
So before we get into the branches, I'd be very interested to hear about kind of just the whole journey of getting to the finals, which was at Stellenbosch this week, on Monday. So how did that all go?
Yeah, very interesting season that we had. Starting out, we were like a very new bunch of guys, especially with the juniors coming in. A lot of guys from different schools, like Durban schools, some Cape Town schools, a lot of Joburg schools as well. Fortunately, I had another OD in my team come and join me, Isaac Abada, matriculated 2024. So starting out in the season, quite fresh, quite new, didn't really gel, but I think as the season went on, we started to get to know each other as players, built our chemistry, knew how we operate as players on the field. And yeah, we just, from the get-go, we actually set out the goal that we're not just here to participate, we're here to win the whole competition. And with everything going on in our Varsity Cup team, people started looking down on us and everything, but we kept it in our heads that no, we're actually here for some goal, and we're not leaving this tournament until we have it. And yeah, kind of just dug through, pushed through, made it to semis, played Shimlers in the semis. That's quite a tough game. The conditions were horrible.
Where did you play them?
We actually played in Bloemfontein.
Okay.
It was storming that day. The field was muddy and everything, but we took it as an opportunity, took the game both hands and managed to get the win, and got a final, played the final in Stellenbosch. It was quite funny playing against some of my old mates, actually. Some of my matric partners, Oloso Potela, Shaywin Blankenberg, Nasha Chihuahua. Nasha was unfortunate to not play the game though. But yeah, it was quite exciting to play against them. And yeah, the game was quite the game, actually, very interesting. But I think we held our own in terms of what UCT had to bring towards us. And in the end, we came out with the win. Got to raise the trophy. And yeah, a very amazing experience. I do recommend for others playing rugby to win something in life.
It's good to win every now and then.
Yeah.
It does feel good.
Very good. The celebrations have actually caught up with me, and so
Yes, hence your
Yeah,
croakiness.
sound a bit sick there, but yeah, no, amazing experience.
Worth
yeah,
it.
very much worth it. Yeah.
But let's just chat a bit about branches, because this is a topical issue. I mean, obviously, because, you know, you'll be working with Richard Weber, who's head of branches, as you're on the subcommittee. But I mean, the branch structure will be most obvious to you because you guys are out of Cape Town, right? So, I mean, did you know that there was a branch when you moved here? I mean, to both of you, I mean, you've been here longer than Ayanda has, I think, but, you know.
I mean, in full honesty, I actually did not know anything about branches. I didn't know there was branches set up all across, not only South Africa, but all across the world, until Richard Weber, as you mentioned, reached out to me and we got into contact, told me he was a Bishop's OD as well, so kind of wanted to help out and everything. And then Nik reached out as well, got in touch with me and explained to me the whole thing about branches and everything, and I was like, this is quite interesting actually, because you walk into a new space, especially for me, like leaving Bishops, leaving Cape Town, walking into a new space in Joburg. You look at other schools, you look at other boys' schools where they're still connected with their old boys and everything, and you think to yourself, well, mate, I would actually appreciate having that, but you don't know anything about it.
And why don't we have that?
And why don't we have that as Bishops as well? So to have Richard reach out to me, Nik explain everything, it was sort of a blessing actually, and it's something that I wish I would have known earlier in my first year especially, and I would want that for someone else coming in the future to 100%. Benefit from such a thing. So
yeah. And you, Zukile?
I also had no idea there was sort of a branch here, and I mean, I've been here almost 6-7 years now. So I mean, obviously I know there are a lot of ODs here, and I chat to a whole bunch of ODs. But in terms of having a physical branch per se, I had no idea, and I think, you know, what Ayanda's saying is 100% true. You want to be able to move to a place and have people that you can resonate with, in the sense that, you know, we've gone to the same school, we sort of understand each other.
Soft landing.
Yeah, 100%. I think especially coming up like straight out of school, I think that must be really tough because, as you say, you know, there's probably not a lot of people. It's different to going to Stellenbosch or UCT, where I guess there's a lot of guys that have come
more
from
people, you
Bishops.
know.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it's
and I think this sort
Nik,
of
can you
indicates-
explain exactly what a branch, like what branches is in the sense?
Absolutely.
Because at least when I think about it, I don't know, when I think of a branch, I think of a physical, like building almost.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, I don't think that's
the names. I mean,
the
some
case.
of the guys in the committee would prefer the word chapter, but basically a branch is not physical. You know, we don't have a bishop's office, you know, in Joburg or in London or whatever, but it's an organization of ODs in that region or place. You know, depending on, you know, the size and the amount of people, it becomes more centralized. So, for example, you know, the new committee has established a Stellenbosch University branch and a UCT branch and a new Cape Town branch, which is brand new. And for example, there already exists a Boerland branch, but there's so many people just at Stellenbosch University, you can create your own branch. But for example, there might be one branch for France, you know, or Mauritius, which we do have, but, you know, as an example. But I mean, the functions of the branch, it's really up to the leadership of that branch. So there'll be a representative or a couple of guys who sort of drive a branch. And basically what you want that to be is, you know, have events. If there's a Bishop's sports team passing through, you know, go and support them, have a sort of dinner or a braai once a year. You know, it's not defined what it is, but basically, you know, and if you say, look, I've just arrived in Joburg, I've just left Bishop's, or, you know, I'm 19 years old or I'm 40 years old, it doesn't matter. You know, you arrive in this place and the branch secretary will say to you, let's go for a beer, let me add you to the WhatsApp group. So there should be a branch WhatsApp group. So, I mean, Joburg has a branch WhatsApp group, you know, but like, and we'll go into why we're actually here because of the St. Stithians Festival. But I mean, I've just been added to the Joburg branch or Gauteng branch WhatsApp group, and I think it was on about 50 or 60 people about 10 days ago. And just with the hype about this event and proper communication of this event of why we're here, I think now it's on almost 100 ODs, and there's definitely many more than that. But I would just say that it's a failure on the part of the ODU that we haven't. The good thing is that the structures are there, but they haven't been marketed. So it's great that we have branches, but you didn't even know that they existed. That's a failure on the ODU's part.
And it's almost the same. We were chatting about the mentorship. On the ODU Union site, there's a page with mentorship, and there's about 550 mentors, ODs signed up for specific things. So if you're looking for more of a mentor in business or
even more specific than that.
Yeah, or in university work, or it's actually all there. It's just kind of getting the word out there and making it easily accessible for guys to go there and use it. Because even just we were doing it when we were actually at the MITRE we were working there over one weekend, and it's just not accessible. There's too much friction to find on the website, and you have to look under here, and so making that easier and more people just to know that, I think is a massive goal for us.
So look, the networking subcommittee which Zukile is on, its focus now is frankly on moving on to a new site, which is underway. Toucan's a good site. However, whether it's Toucan or previous administrations that have structured it, I said to a couple of the guys that, a lot of the stuff that we want is there. However, the mentorship thing, for example, I had to be shown by someone who knew the website how to actually get there. And then I was like, whoa, but you wouldn't stumble across it. For example, the current system we have isn't mobile friendly. It doesn't have an app. The new system will. So, those are basic things. Is you might have the stuff there, but you have to get the basics right first. How many ODs are going to actually go to the young ODs, particularly go to a website which has to be on a PC because it doesn't really work on a phone, and then go and search for network mentoring opportunities if they don't even know that it's there. So it's on us. The onus is on us to really get the word out there, right, Jack?
And I think that's ultimately why we're here. I think for in many examples, for to have left a place or to be going to a place, you want to know that there is a union that is out there that is looking out for you. If you move to France, you want to be able to reach out to the branch head, and I think at this point that we don't have that interconnectedness, which I think Jack, doing a lot of the communication, you're going to sort of be spearheading and getting that out there.
Try get people just ODs to know about it, and really make use of it. Hopefully, when it is more accessible. But even thinking personally, I took a gap year last year in the UK. I was working as a stooge at a school just by London, and it was good fun. But I was definitely quite isolated in the sense of that there weren't really many people my age doing it there. And thinking back, I was just an hour train away from London, and I did go into London a few times. But what I probably should have done was try and find the London branch and try and meet some of the ODs there. That would have been a good opportunity, but I just didn't.
Time, it has to be easy for you to do that. It has to be clear. You go to the website. Here's the phone number. So it takes two to tango, and I just think that dynamic hasn't really been there. Sadly. And I think what's clear, obviously this is a purely young perspective, but very much these core businesses of what the ODU Union is so vital to young guys. It's actually most important to people. Networking, mentoring, the branch system is particularly important to people our age. When you high up in your career, you don't need that as much anymore. But when you're young and you're moving around, it's necessary.
So now we can get on to kind of another main reason why we're here is the ODC Youth Cabinet, which we are all on, being youthful members of the ODC. And this kind of idea that Nik came to me, fortunately we're in the same res, Simonsberg, at Stellenbosch, so it's quite easy to communicate with each other. But he came up with this idea that he almost wants a number of young ODs on each of the subcommittees. And then the end goal was to almost have this youth cabinet, in the sense where you've got different young ODs on each subcommittee that then can kind of have their own conversations a bit more freely, in the sense that you don't have all the older, more experienced guys with you, and then you can talk to each other, come up with ideas on your own, and then that can feed through to the subcommittees, which we had a first meeting at the MITRE last week, and we also had some of the with the chairman Simon there, and Lawrence Rose, and
Warwick was there.
It was also nice for us to meet the guys actually on the ODC, talk with them. And I know, just an example, I've got a friend who had a business idea which he wanted to start. He's also, so he was there, and he was kind of looking for kind of mentorship, in a sense, where he had this idea but he didn't really know where to go with it. Or, I mean, especially if you're starting like a product as a business, there's so many things that you have to think about, and how am I going to make this? How am I going to market it? All this stuff. And two of the OD committee members are now actually kind of helping him and mentor him through that. So I know they're in contact a lot now, and he's super excited about where it's going to go. And that's purely just because of now he's got involved, he knows the guys, and just do that that networking, just being part of the OD subcom. So yeah, I think that's really cool, and that's kind of the main reason why we get involved. I think as young ODs, we're really just yearning for this kind of thing, and really want to get involved, start businesses, find good jobs, network. And I think, as we were all speaking about, the OD union provides such an opportunity for that, but it's just harnessing that. So that's partly why we've started this OD Youth Cabinet.
Yeah, so I mean, I really only understood how the structure of, the OD union's governance and how they do what they do when I was really elected to the board and took my position. So, I mean, I had an understanding that there were ODs that sort of volunteered and helped out. However, I didn't know what the structure of that was. So, to put it simply, there's a committee of 12 members, and we have 2 members that we further co-opted, meaning that we've put them on, appointed them, but they don't have voting rights. So we actually have 14 members on the board. And bar the chairman and vice chairman, every member of the board has a portfolio. So I was made the head of the communications portfolio, and as soon as I became the head of communications, I inherited an existing subcommittee of about a dozen ODs that have been helping over the years, and that was really reassuring. Obviously, communications is quite a big aspect of the OD union, so the subcommittees were not that big. A lot of them were very much dormant, didn't have anybody on them. And I, along with Jordan Flax, who's also one of the more youthful members on the board, sort of spoke about this, and I had an idea of involving younger guys, but I didn't know quite how to do it. And then seeing the structure of the OD union, it sort of, the penny dropped, and then this idea came. So exactly what Jack said, the goal is to put 2 or 3 young ODs on every single portfolio committee, because that's really where the work gets done. The board meets quarterly. It's every guy's, I focus on communications and then report back, once every 3 months. Obviously, we have regular discussions on WhatsApp groups and, channels, but, the work gets done on the subcommittee. So this offered a way for young ODs to, number one, get involved directly in the functions of the OD union, and also have a direct link to, just networking and mentoring, and really seeing how, big organizations like the ODU Union, which it is. I mean, we've got, I think, 8,000 or 9,000 ODs out there. You know, it's a very big organization, and just seeing firsthand how it gets done. So not only, you know, for personal benefits of networking and mentoring and all that, we also have now a direct way of having youth perspectives, you know, filtering through the system, you know, which has never happened before. Another aspect is, you know, last year's committee was made up of 10 members because there weren't any more that put themselves forward. You know, we've got a committee of 14 this year, plus another 20 or 30 people on subcommittees. So when you compare 10 people last year and, you know, a real governance of 40 something this year, it's a very big difference. You know, there's a proper team that's now governing the ODU Union, and it's incredibly exciting. So yeah, we had our first meeting of the Youth Cabinet, and we basically want to emulate what the ODU does. You know, I want to say to Ayanda, look, what are you guys doing on branches? Why don't you do this? And he'll say, you know, we're working on this, and the same with networking. And, you know, these opportunities are what many of us sort of dream of at this age. And we've got the opportunity to do it. You know, we've got the opportunity to build it, and that's what we're doing. So we've put together a very strong team so far. I mean, I think we're on 20 or 21 young ODs. When we say young, we've kept it to about 30 and below, with a few exceptions. But that's generally the age. And we're going to see where it goes from here. But it's a quantum leap, because, and it's something I'm really proud of and excited about, because, you know, it's just seemed to me that it's been a revolving door in terms of the leadership of many bodies at Bishops, where it's sort of, you know, you leave after school, have nothing to do with the institution for like 40 years or 50 years, and then you come back and everyone says, well, back in my day, this is how we did it. And that's just not a sustainable way of doing things. So, you know, out of these 20 or 21 young guys, if one or two of them run for the ODC or run for council or get involved in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, you've already done something amazing that never would have happened before. So that's the exciting aspect.
No, just on the whole branches matter. You know, you go out of school, you leave Bishops, and you don't really tend to engage with all your mates, because some guys will stay in Cape Town, some guys will leave, go like myself, come to Johannesburg, some guys will leave to go to other provinces, countries and everything, and you lose that sense of engagement, not only amongst your own peers, but amongst the whole community of Bishops. And that's where like the importance of the whole branches portfolio comes in. You know, you reach out to all the people that have gone through similar experiences as you in life, being an OD at Bishops, and you just get them to engage, you share ideas amongst each other, you speak, even like basic chats, you just reach out to people so that you make their lives easier in terms of going into a new space and everything. And just, you know, as you said, giving them like a softer landing in wherever they choose to go. So that's where the importance of like the branches network comes in. And with that, you can go into other portfolios like networking per se, or you can go into communications per se, just mentoring and everything. So yeah, having that, even posing that to like a young audience such as us is like very vital, because it allows us to, you know, just feel still connected to what we have and give us like sort of an advantage in life.
Absolutely.
And I think we all yearn for that. I mean, going into a new space, you kind of have that like ambient anxiety of, well, you don't really know how it's going to go. I mean, you can never know for sure, and worrying about it beforehand doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
So kind of having that, even that knowledge that, okay, there's one guy here who I know and I've made contact with.
Yeah.
I mean, that just makes a massive difference. Yeah, I don't think that can be stated enough.
I mean, like for me, and I think for a number of guys, you sort of step away from taking those opportunities of leaving what you have in Cape Town, because you think to yourself, oh, I'm going to a new space, there's no one there. You're going to a new country, there's no one you have there, you're just going to be on your own. With this, you make that whole experience much easier. As Jack said, you go and you know, okay, I have an OD that's in Joburg. Now I can go to Joburg, get in touch with him, and meet a couple of other ODs, and you know, you make your life easier while you're there. You go to another province, even might go to, I don't know, Eastern Cape per se. Meet up with OD. You connect with someone from the Eastern Cape, an OD from the Eastern Cape. You make your life easier there.
Funnily you mentioned that. Sorry to interrupt you, but we've just. I was watching my brother on tour now. 2 weeks ago in Port Elizabeth, and using the LinkedIn, I found there are a couple of ODs. Obviously, not nearly as big as a Joburg branch, but we've never had a branch in Port Elizabeth, and obviously you wouldn't expect there to be tons of ODs there, but there's constantly Bishop's activity there. There's constantly teams going through there, and that's also what a branch can represent. It's just being some form of embassy of somebody that might just be at a sports match, or just be able to welcome a parent. So Ryan Brits, who you'll be in contact with on branches. We've just established the Port Elizabeth branch. Now, we met up with Ryan in Port Elizabeth, and I said, would you be keen to start this? And he said, awesome, why not? Let's do it. And I think, as you were saying, like with ODs, being able to offer a soft landing, I think a key point is also that the older generation, when I say older, sort of middle-aged and older, is that there's so many that are, like with the mentoring, that are wanting and willing to give it. It's not like we're trying to get water out of a stone here. It's and this is why there's such a big opportunity, is because you've got these guys that are willing to give so much and yearning to give so much, and we haven't linked it. So we're trying to, that I think is what we're really trying to do. Right?
And maybe, Nick, also just on that, I sort of see it as like a perspective thing. Because I can speak from my own sort of experience in the past 10 or 12 years since I left school. I think for me, I always saw the OD Union as very event driven. And so, there would be some sort of big event, whatever it may be, and, that's when I'll reconnect with the guys. But whereas what you guys are saying with this branches is that you've got this place where you can connect with ODs all the time. It's not just necessarily, there's some big thing happening, or like some massive dinner, or something of that nature that's occurring, and then we're gonna all sort of join together and reconnect. This is a place that you should be able to go and be able to connect with ODs at any given point. You should be able to land in London, for instance, tomorrow, and connect with the London branch, whether you're even part of the branch. You know that it's there, and you can connect with ODs in that fashion. And I think part of what we need to do is change that mindset of the young ODs, that this exists, and there are, as you're saying, older ODs that are very happy to, and that the branch exists. That's the truth. It's been there.
We're not building it. It's there.
Exactly.
And in two parts, I think with what Ayanda was saying, starting university this year, making new friends it's always like a bit of a challenge. You feel that kind of,
and in a new environment.
Yeah, and I think like with the branches and meeting new guys, I find personally the best way to like make new friends is you kind of have a mutual friend, and then that friend has mates. So even like with the networking, it's not even with ODs. Like if you meet an OD through the branch and he's got his mates there, then you're kind of like connecting with them, and it's not that awkward because it's not like just two random people. You have that mutual friend, and I think that goes in with the networking, like meeting some of the older ODs, and like as older ODs, they have a much bigger network of like guys that they might know who aren't ODs but could help you out in this certain area, and they're more than happy to just put you in contact with them.
And if I can just say, Jack, the great thing about the OD Union is that a lot of, in many senses, what people want it to be, particularly the young guys, it's all interlinked. So, for example, today we're here for a branch event, so that's the branch. But an event, you're meeting new people, so that's networking. You know, you might meet someone who's going to mentor you, so that's mentorship. You know, we've come here to communicate and show the ODU Union that this exists. I mean, those are 4 different portfolios, but it's all happening at one sort of thing. And that's how the ODU Union, you know, works and could work. You know, it's not like that's a branch thing, that's a networking thing. It's all involved. So once we link, you know, which hasn't been happening, I think all of it, it's sort of an exponential growth thing that we just need to get the cogs moving, and then it will really boom, you know. And I think we can be, particularly, you know, young guys, that sort of kickstart and jumpstart this whole thing and see where it goes. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, I think this will, you know, with everything moving, I think it will benefit a lot of ODs out there. I mean, I think it will be something much bigger than what we possibly see it now to be. And when it comes into fruition, I think,
Absolutely.
It will be something very amazing
And I think also, like, an example is like the fundraising and revenue of the ODU Union has struggled in the last few years. And I think that's really directly as a result of, you know, if you want people to you know, donate, you've got to give them some form of hope that it's going somewhere of value. And I think we just haven't communicated what we do or could do well, you know. And we know that there's you know, systems and channels and mentors and branches, but we haven't shown the vast majority of ODs that. We haven't proven that. So, you know, that falls very much to me and Jack to, you know, I said to all the guys that, you know, we'll, you know, amplify everything, but you guys need to tell us what you do. And so we'll amplify it, but, you know, you run your events and we'll show everybody. So, I mean, like today, I mean, just explain, Jack, you know, why we've come up, why are we actually in Joburg?
Yeah, well, I mean, the kind of main reason why I came along with Nik is I've got my own camera, and almost, I mean, I think what I've learned, I mean, the importance of documenting things, and I don't think can be overstated in the sense that, I mean, as one, you always have it, and that video, I think like video type of documentation is quite powerful in the sense that it's more entertaining, number one, which increases engagement. And yeah, I think for video things you can repurpose in a lot of ways. So obviously we're filming this podcast, which is going to be our first ever OD YouTube video, which is very exciting.
We bought equipment for Cape Town.
We have got equipment in the works, so we're going to be upgrading that and hopefully doing a lot more podcasts, because the fortunate thing, there are an infinite amount of interesting ODs like these 2 guys next to us. But on top of that, sports guys who have been successful in their fields who, I mean, I would just be interested to talk to, but I would think other guys would be interested to hear their stories. So I think that's the main part. But then obviously on more the Instagram side, kind of the short reels. So I'm sure we'll make a kind of reel from today where we've been, the guys connecting because we're having a braai after the rugby.
So Bishops is playing, the first team's playing at the Easter weekend St. Stithians Festival. And, you know, as I said, the branch system has been a big part of this new committee's initiative. And this was just a perfect opportunity for that, because 2 out of the 14 members of the board live in Johannesburg. Richard Weber, whose branches, and Warwick, whose offices we're at now. So it was sort of a no-brainer, and I said, you know, sort of on the video that we did, just that, you know, Joburg can be the catalyst for this new, you know, system and energy. And so today loads of ODs hopefully will turn out and watch the first team, and we're having a braai afterwards at the St. Stithians Old Boys Clubhouse. And yeah, I mean, as I said, we had this WhatsApp group, but the amount it's grown. I mean, you got added, you know, what, day or two ago?
Day or 2 ago, yeah.
I mean, how long have you been in Joburg? Since the beginning of last year?
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't even know that the WhatsApp group existed. I mean, this is the thing, that it's like, it's there, and we just need to get it going, right? So
I think I just want to touch base on what Jack had said, like the importance of like video and everything, and having this podcast even. I mean, you look back as a young guy and you watch a podcast and you think to yourself, for an instance, in my life, I would look at a professional rugby player and think to myself, okay, you can relate to some extent because they've gone through rugby and everything. But I think having like guests from like ODs that have been successful in rugby or what sense, having like a Sasha here or something, having Francois Lowe come here and have a chat with us, I think that will not only make people like myself more
engaged,
excited or more keen to keep in touch with the OD. I think there's a lot of guys out there because you are able to relate to that. You're able to relate to those guys waking up at 7 or 6 a.m., go to the gym, come back, have to shower, go to chapel, you know, how they worked around that and how they further worked around it leaving high school. And you just, you know, it's an exciting thing.
The cool thing is that you can relate because it's like
And
for 5 years we did almost the same thing and you're a Springbok.
Yeah.
And
You know,
the and the
100%.
you know,
and the beauty of a podcast is you get a more in-depth view. I mean, because a lot of the things you see online and a lot of the videos, it's more just kind of like the output of everything you've done. Whereas this, you can actually hear about the inputs and like what they did and how their school experience
so, I mean,
was.
Jack, speak on it a bit. I mean, like, so podcasts are going to be a huge new initiative for us. But I mean, you and Bryn, another young OD, Bryn Parry, I mean, you guys have started a TikTok page. You know, we didn't even have a YouTube channel on the OD Union. When we inherited now a month ago. I mean, we starting a YouTube channel, and it's like, in this day and age, I mean,
you need it.
have to.
But no, the YouTube's for the interviews and the podcast, the longer form,
the vlog
kind
like
of
we
content.
explain that vlog.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get a vlog coming out from this trip. And then, I mean, the Instagram, it's more for just like the short, exciting kind of snippets of what's happened. I think that's the main overview.
I think the key is also, like, just on speaking on communications, is that you also, a vital part of communication is knowing how to properly segment your channels. So, you know, in other words, what to post where, you know, because we've got LinkedIn's, Instagrams, Facebooks, new TikTok, YouTube, but you have to very much understand what demographics.
What's your target audience on each one? You're not
gonna post a 10-second funny reel on LinkedIn. No. You know, so you have to know what you're doing. So, if we can sort of nail that, you know, we feel very responsible. Obviously, communication is a big aspect because, you know, as I sort of said, like, you guys can do as well as you like, but if people don't know what is going on, then what's the value of it? You know, and networking is also exciting here.
No, very, very much so. I mean, just to sort of wrap up on there, I think the beauty of what you guys have with the communications is the content is sort of there.
Yeah,
you know, it's just about going and grabbing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, on the podcast, there are so many captains of industries, and I mean, we mentioned rugby, but you know, there are ODs that are literally
all sorts
up all sorts of different industries, and I think it's amazing that we're going to be able to capture all these perspectives.
That's the goal.
And really get that. But just on sort of networking, I think you touched on today. We're going to the Cincinnati Fest, and we're going to have a braai afterwards, which is, you know, an element of networking. I think being a part of that committee, I think we really want to try and not just have your one event for the year that, you know, people can come to and sort of network. I think we're going to be working a lot with the different committees and portfolios because, you know, we're here today at a Joburg branch event, as we said, but there's a huge networking component to that.
Absolutely.
I think across different sectors, we'll be looking to integrate some sort of networking aspect that we can apply. I think some of the initiatives are looking really, really positive. We're looking to tie in some sort of a mentorship aspect to networking. We're looking to have a couple of big events across the year.
Yes.
And I think one key core thing that we need to get right that was mentioned is sort of the website and having a mobile app, because
Yeah.
I think without that, to sort of integrate and get ODs together is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would just say that I think it's so exciting, and I think there's going to be such an amazing turnaround that we'll be a part of, and for the benefit of the future generations to come, you know, and it's all there, and we just need to go and seize it. So it's very exciting. I mean, any final thoughts, Jack?
I want to say it's a very cool banner.
I know, very cool.
Very proper.
Yeah, thank
What
you,
do we
Warwick,
think-
for
Thank you,
getting
Warwick.
this.
Warwick.
Yeah.
And Perfect Laser, and the
Goats.
Perfect Laser team, and Nathan, who you can't see behind you, who's been a legend.
He's been working on the sound, making sure it's all working well.
But as I said, yeah, many more of these to come, and it's all about engagement and transparency, and just kickstarting, you know, this huge potential that this organization has. So, Ayanda, Jack, Zukile, thank you for your time, and you will not see. This is not the last of us. You will see much more of us.
Yeah.
And
Before we cut that,
yeah.
any score predictions for today?
Gosh, it wasn't a great showing on
Against
Thursday,
Holtman.
but I think it'll be quite tight. I think the boys in blue will put a bit of heart into it, and I think it could go our way. I really do.
I think
Tight, though.
I think there's going to be a good OD showing
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. Big,
So I
big
think with a
deal.
bit of support,
Back
back
in
the boys in
back
blue.
in the boys.
Absolutely, I
Have
think
to.
so.
26-12. I'll call it
26-12.
to the Blues.
Okay. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.